Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're going to be comparing a 2022 Lincoln Aviator Reserve to a 2022 Ford Explorer Platinum. Now, I picked up these two particular packages because, well, this is the luxury version of the Explorer, and this is not the least expensive version of the Aviator, but it's a less expensive version of the Aviator, so these two SUVs are going to be closer in terms of pricing, so it's just a more fair comparison overall. Now, with that being said, as always, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get right into the video. Starting under the hood of the Explorer, we get to start off with some controversy. So we have a turbocharged 3-liter V6 that goes through a 10-speed automatic transmission. Some sources say it's good for 400 horsepower and 415 pound-feet of torque. Other sources say 365 horsepower, and there's no real consensus. They're just a bunch of arguing. So who knows? Anyways, popping under the hood of the Aviator, it's a little bit more clear-cut. 400 horsepower, 415 pound-feet of torque coming from the same exact engine and transmission. And so, yeah, if any of you work for Ford, then you should let us know so that we can get all that fixed. Anyways, going over the front end of the Platinum, you guys can see this one is finished in like a metallic gray. And notice how you've got the raised portion on the hood on either side, just like an F-150. And then you can see the daytime running lights there on the top with the LED headlamps. And then notice with the chrome front grille to kind of go with that luxury theme. Got the Ford logo camera in front of the logo. And then fog lights down below, parking sensors on the front end. And yeah, overall, I think it's a good looking vehicle from a front end perspective. Again, definitely has that luxury car appearance with some of the accent elements. And going from that over to the Aviator, what you guys can see here, first off, is notice with the lines how everything's kind of, you've got some sharp lines, but more rounded off from a design perspective compared to the Explorer. And then you can see here with the daytime running lights and then the LED headlamps, super, super bright. Turn signal indicator just down below. And then you can see here with the parking sensors and that bottom portion of the grille. And then notice with the grille, lots of, chrome and silver trim. And then you got the Lincoln logo. Definitely looks way more upscale just from an appearance perspective on the outside. Now popping to the side of the Platinum, you can see here with the silver wheels, front and rear. And then notice you've got plastic molding there for the fender flares, which is kind of interesting. And then you've got the parking sensor like in the front of the one fender flare, as you guys can see right there. And the plastic molding continues all along the side. Got some silver trim integrated into it to make it a little bit more luxury-like with the appearance. And then notice the black pillar right there to kind of break things up a little bit. It doesn't stand out as much on this car because, again, it's gray, but if it was like white or something, it would. The wheels on the Aviator, love the look of the wheels. Again, kind of has a more luxury car appearance to it. Lincoln logo there in the center. And something to note is, well, here's a quick look at the front suspension. You can get pretty cool suspension on the Aviator. But again, plastic molding for the fender flares. Aviator logo, and you can see the trim that kind of extends from it, and then blacked out mirrors to create some contrast, and then black pillar, and then chrome trimmer on the windows. And again, it just looks a lot like, even though it still has plastic trim on the bottom, it still just kind of looks a little bit more luxurious, a little bit nicer. Then here's a key fob for the Explorer. So notice you've got the remote start function is the main thing, and then the opening for the rear hatch. And then popping here to the rear, got some floor mats back here, which is very important, right? Notice the storage space just underneath. And you can see all the things to raise and lower the seats, which is another nice kind of like little function here. And then we've got that 12 volt there off to the side. And then here's a quick look at the seats themselves. So you can see the coloration on them, and we'll kind of go over them a little bit more later. But, there's some decent amenities there back in the third row. You can see you got some storage space there off to the side. But notice it's not crazy nice from a material standpoint, but at least you get a cup holder. And, legroom is more on the limited side. I usually recommend just kids in the third row of SUVs in this particular segment just because of the size. But headroom's actually good, which is definitely a big positive, I'd have to say. And then you can see closing the rear hatch, fully automated. And then going over the rest of the rear, you can see here with the taillights, definitely, distinctive Ford taillights. I think they look good. Explorer logo. I think you can see the camera there. And then notice Platinum logo. You got your four-wheel drive on the other side. And then you can see with the exhaust tips on either side in terms of the appearance of those. Those parking sensors as well. And yeah, again, I think it's, you know, good looking from the rear end perspective. Almost dropped the key fob there. That's kind of funny. Anyways, remote start, and you've got the opening there for the hatch. Key fob's the same, just has a Lincoln logo instead of a Ford logo. But actually, popping here into the rear, you can see there with storage space, and then you have the same functionality to lower and raise the seats, and then you can see there with the 12 volt. And then notice with the seat right there, you got a little strap to pull it up if you want, and then there's the lowering for the hatch. And then here's the rest of the rear. So notice here with the light bar that goes all the way across, then you got the Lincoln logo, and then the dual outlet tips there on either side. Receiver hitch under that bezel, and then parking sensors at the bottom. And again, I think it's good looking, and well, there happens to be Explorer, so you guys can see them right next to each other. But popping to the interior here of the Platinum, you can see there with the sunshade, and then look at the padding down below, and then the contrasted stitching. And you know, I think they did a pretty good job from a, you know, design perspective here with the door panel. Notice the adjustments on the seats, and then I love the coloration on these seats. I think they look really sharp. And you know, the two-tone design, just yeah, I think it's great. Padding's really nice, as you can see. When you leave little wrinkles when you touch it, that's when you know the padding's good. And then room in the second row is great. Got some climate controls for the rear, heated seats for the rear as well. And then some little outlets. You can see the cup holder armrest setup. And then again with the third row, notice the seats are the same, which is nice. So that you have nice looking seats all throughout. Panoramic sunroof as well. And then here is the Aviator. So notice material use is fairly similar on the door panel, but just a little bit more of it, and just the design is a little bit prettier, right? It flows a little bit nicer, and that's kind of what you get with the Lincoln. And then electronic releases for the doors, which some of you might like, some of you might not like. And then you can see with the seats, again, really nice. Notice perforated in the center portion. Not as much contrast because they're just black with these seats, but room's the same because it's literally like the same vehicle. Man, my hair is staying up straight. Must have been a windy day that day. And then you can see here with the little like climate control section, same setup where you have the climate controls for the rear passengers. And notice got some cup holders here. And I just love like the center console setup they have with the Aviator, because it just like kind of adds to like the luxury feel. And then you can see the wood trim too, definitely adds to that. And then notice with the seats, just as nice as the second row. Well, no, they're not. Sorry, they don't have the perforations in them like the second row seats, so they're not as nice. Huh. Interesting that they did that. And then you can see a little storage space there in the back. But popping to the front of the Platinum, you can see here with the padding there. And then notice one of the speakers for the sound system. Well, several, right? And then you got memory seats. You got 3 different settings. Let's quick look at the mirrors as well. And then here are the front seats. So notice it says Platinum on it. And again, you got that two-tone design, which I really like. You can see the bolstering on it. And down below. And your power adjustments. Pedal layout. And then you can see with the light controls. And the steering wheel is power adjustable in the Platinum, which is definitely a big positive. And then popping back over to the Aviator. So looking at the material use in the door panel, again, really nice from an aesthetic perspective. You got your seat adjustments, which are power memory seats. So notice like a lot of the features are the same, but again, just look how pretty it is with the Aviator. And then you got your adjustments for the mirrors. They've got blind spot monitoring just like the Explorer. And then look at the seats. The front seats are so interesting how they like looks like a person, right? Which makes sense, right? You want to sit on a seat that is shaped to be like a person. Makes sense. But you know, functionality is the same with a lot of the controls, like the double latch hood release and, you know, power adjustable steering wheel, all that. So there's not a huge difference from that perspective. Popping back into the Explorer, you guys can see the full digital gauge cluster there. But here's the steering wheel, so nice material use around, and then notice the wood trim right there with the stitching in the center portion. And then you know some controls for the center stack. Cruise control does have steering assistance as well as adaptive cruise control. Then you got your turn signal stock, windshield wiper stock, and then the Ford logo is kind of faded out, which is kind of a cool appearance. And then here is the digital gauge cluster. So there's a few different screens that you can scroll through here with the digital gauge cluster, different bits of information on the car, right, itself. You can kind of change the formatting on the gauge cluster so that it shows more or less information, hence the column screen. And then you got a bunch of different drive modes. The main stuff that you probably use is Sport, obviously tow haul if you tow stuff. I don't know if, I mean, deep snow, maybe, right? But I don't see a lot of people taking the Platinums off-road, so I don't know if the off-road modes are really applicable. And then obviously normal for most of your day-to-day driving. And then here is the tablet infotainment system in the Explorer. So you can see camera system's solid from a resolution perspective. Sorry about the glare, but it's got a bunch of different viewpoints, right? That's why you've got the cameras all over the car. And like I said, resolution's solid on the camera system. And so, you know, even though the camera view isn't massive, parking it would still be pretty easy. As the rest of the infotainment system, response time's great, and it's relatively easy to use, but obviously this was, you know, something that Ford tried out, and people didn't really like it, so they've gone away from this somewhat. But notice here with the seats, you have massaging seats. And the reason why I say they've gone away from it is in some of the newer models, they don't have it like so just like plopped onto the dash, like, you know, what it looks like here in the Explorer. And then you've got analog controls for like the radio, climate controls, heated cooled seats, heated steering wheel, all that normal luxury stuff. And so, yeah, quite a bit of luxury stuff, having, you know, massaging seats that are heated and cooled. That's nice. And you can see the whole kind of like storage area here. Definitely nice. Couple cup holders right there, and then you've got the shifter for the 10-speed automatic, parking brake, auto hold here, and then notice we've got that for like the traction control, parking assistance, hill descent control, and the drive mode select. And then the center console, pretty normal, nothing crazy happening there. Wireless phone chargers in front of it, which is interesting. More wood trim at the top, and then you can see the padding on the dash. Looks really nice, actually. So that kind of gives it a more upscale appearance. And then you can see padding down below, just above the glove box. Then you got the sunglass holder, and then full panoramic sunroof, which, you know, get a nice luxury feature. Now, here's the window sticker for this Explorer Platinum. You guys can see all the standard equipment that comes with the Platinum. Total MSRP just under $60,000, $59,055, right? Popping back to the Aviator. Look at that animation. Both of them are almost out of gas. That's funny. Anyways, here's the steering wheel with the Aviator. And you guys can see there with the Lincoln logo in the center and then the stitching all around. And then it has a cool trick steering wheel where you can basically change what it shows based on going into the different menus, which is kind of cool. So you can see right there, changes. So just nice little feature, and definitely makes it feel a little bit cooler. And then cruise control, when you turn that on, it all illuminates. Then you got like your volume controls, all that on the other side. And of course, regular stocks just look nicer than what you have in the Explorer. Paddle shifters, though, are still plastic, which is kind of interesting. And then here is the center screen. So first off, you notice digital gauge cluster, just like the Explorer. And you can change how much information is shown. You still have like a calm screen if you don't want a lot of stuff showing there. And then from a drive mode perspective, it's just Lincoln has interesting names for the drive modes. Basically, Excite's like for sport mode, right? And then you've got your normal mode. And then again, slippery you might use. But notice they don't have any like off-road modes because they really know that people won't take these off-road for sure. So they're like, that's not necessary. Infotainment system, you know, it's not as like, it's more horizontal than vertical. So it's interesting they have two different infotainment systems in these cars. But notice the camera system I'd actually say is better because it fills up the whole screen versus the Explorer. It's just the top portion of the screen. So I think that's a big plus. And you know, response time's great, and it's just as easy to use. Look at that, it's like stuck on my finger. That's funny. And then notice still have, this has ambient lighting, but then also has massaging seats just like the Explorer Platinum. So both of them have that nice luxury feature. And so I guess we're stacking up to be pretty even. Notice the wood trim, the padding all around, and just the fit and finish on everything. And then you've got like that for the camera to turn that on if you want quick little access to it. And notice here at the transmission selector, radio controls down below. And then we've got like our climate controls in this section, heated cooled seats, heated steering wheel, and it has all the same stuff that the Explorer Platinum has. But just notice all the trim here in the Aviator. And just kind of how that looks from an appearance perspective. Couple cup holders, also very nice. And then you can see the parking brake right there. And the drive mode selects like in its own area. Then there's the center console. And then you can see the padding there on the top. And then quick look at the glove box. Again, nothing too crazy happening with that. Pretty normal stuff. But again, just notice the padding all over. Just the trim looks really nice in the Aviator. And then panoramic center, just like you have in the Explorer Platinum. You got universal garage door openers, lighter colored headliner. Now this window sticker is a little bit harder to see because of the glare, but all you need to know is this one's stickers for like $71,000 with the options that we saw in today's video, as you can see. And so yeah, let's sum things up. So first off, you know, some of this is going to be personal opinion because it deals with aesthetics. I think the Aviator is just a better looking vehicle, right? Flowy lines, and it's just beautiful. The Explorer is not a bad looking vehicle, but it's not as beautiful as the Aviator. And then if we go from that to the interior, right, basically the Explorer has all the same features the Aviator has. The Aviator just has a nicer looking interior with the wood trim and how the seats appear, and just all of the pieces just have more of like a luxury car finish to them. So it just feels like a nicer interior, even though the features and functions are the same between both the cars. Infotainment system, I'll give it to the Aviator because I just don't like that vertical tablet that's in the Explorer, especially since it has a smaller camera view. And then from a driving perspective, here's what I have to say is they both drive pretty similar. The Aviator might feel slightly smoother, especially when you get its like adaptive suspension, then it really feels smooth, way smoother than an Explorer. But with regular suspension, they're both pretty similar. And so, yeah, I mean, there's a big price difference, right? You're over $10,000. And so the thing you have to ask yourself is, if you just want those features, if you just want, you know, heated, massaging, cooled seats, all that kind of stuff, Explorer Platinum. But if you want those features and you want to feel like you're in like a more upscale luxury interior and have that experience associated with that, then yeah, the Aviator is going to give that to you, but you're going to be paying a pretty hefty price to get that experience. And so it just depends on if it's worth it for you or not. Let me know what you guys think.